Again, I say these things as an expert in accounting and financial research.
Citation needed.
Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the very first edition of Wasted. This video series is going to be where I debunk videos, so it's really just a debunk series, but I named it Wasted because, marketing, bitches. I mean, you gotta YouTube somehow, I don't know. Anyways, today's video is why the US dollar will collapse on September 27th, 2016. Real specific there, you didn't give yourself a lot of leeway. That's fucking retarded. So, naturally, I was drawn to the video because I'm like, oh, this better be good. What type of idiotic claims he's gonna make in here? So, I figure I'd start it up, and first thing I want to note is he has no fucking sources. No links, nothing, and doesn't even list a name. He's supposed to be an accountant in the financial sector, and he has no fucking name. He doesn't disclose his name. So, any evidence he says he has or research, citation needed. Second point I want to say is this video was uploaded in January, and it's now September 7th, sorry. So we only are 20 days away from this supposed collapse. It's going to be on 27th. There's no range or just impending doom in general. It's going to happen sometime in the near future. He doesn't mention that. He mentions it specifically on the 27th of September, which makes no fucking sense. But we are closer to the date at hand. It doesn't appear that anything bad is happening so far. We have more evidence than he did in January. However, I'm not the one making this fucking claim. And the last indicator that this is probably a bullshit hoax before we even start the video is comments and ratings are disabled.
Ahead, I expect there to be riots in the streets, arrests on an unprecedented scale, and martial law enforced by the U.S. military. Believe me, I don't make this prediction lightly.
Remember, folks, just believe him. Just trust him. Have faith in him. Listen and believe this anonymous man who has no fucking links, citations, credibility, ratings, or comments enabled.
And I have no interest in trying to scare you.
I actually believe you that you have no interest in scaring me. I frankly don't think you give a shit whether we're scared or not. I think what you give a shit about is how many clicks you get on your clickbait video and rack up some monetization.
I'm simply following my research to its logical conclusion. The same financial problems I've been tracking from bank to bank, from company to company, for the last 5 years have now found their way into the U.S. Treasury. You see, I can tell you with near 100% certainty that most Americans will not know what to do when commodity prices, things like milk, bread, and gasoline, soar. They won't know what to do when banks close and their credit cards stop working, or when they're not allowed to buy gold or foreign currencies, or when food stamps fail.
But you know he's not trying to scare you or anything like that.
In short, our way of life in America is about to change. I promise you.
Fuck your pinky promise and just show me some data.
In this video, I'll show you exactly what's happening. You can challenge every single one of my facts.
Oh, I fucking would. But you disabled comments. And hence the purpose of this fucking debunk video.
And you'll find that I'm right about each allegation I make.
We'll fucking see about that in a mere 20 days.
And then you can decide for yourself. Will you act now to protect yourself and your family from the catastrophe that's brewing right now in Washington, D.C.?
What will you do when the apocalypse arrives? But oh, no. This isn't fear-mongering at all.
I hope so. That's why I made this video.
Remember, folks, he's just a nice guy. He's just warning you. He's not in it for the monetization and the AdSense revenue. Not at all. Not a single reason why that would be. No, just shut up. Okay, can we get on with the fucking video already? Like, so far you haven't presented really anything, and you've just been rambling on for 4 minutes. So I don't really have anything to destroy yet, so I've really just been a smartass this whole time. Come on, give me something to actually debunk.
In short, I believe that we as Americans are about to see a major collapse in our national monetary system and our normal way of life. Basically, for many years now, our government has been borrowing so much money, very often using short-term loans, that very soon we will no longer be able to afford even the interest on these loans. Again, I say these things as an expert in accounting and financial research. You may not think things are that bad in the U.S. economy, but consider this simple fact from the National Inflation Association.
When I left NIA because of their first paid promotion, which I just didn't sit right with me as being ethical, I started YouTubing in 2006, and John Levitt contacted me. He said, would you support my website if I were to hire you? And I said, okay, that's fine. He got slammed because of his financial arrangements with the pump and dump stock history that he had, and that's when he came up with the idea for Inflation US, and I helped him build a YouTube channel to do that. And at the time, I still gave him the benefit of the doubt, but in hindsight, I'm seeing this whole program for what it truly is. And first of all, Gerard Adams is the so-called president of NIA, but everyone needs to understand that John Levitt is really the person behind and orchestrating the entire marketing scheme of NIA.
I wanted to attract my audience, people that were Peter Schiff so-called fans. They wanted to get them to read this anti-Peter Schiff stuff by going to their site, and they wanted to capture their name to build a database.
Yeah, and that's what spawned the Peter Schiff is wrong video in 2008.
Right, for $1,000, they would give you the name of a penny stock in advance, and then several days later or a week later, they would email out the recommendation to all the other NIA members. Was that basically the plan?
From what I understand, the timing I'm not sure of, but I know that was one of their first ways to monetize the list that they were building.
Yeah, no, so you might not have realized this at the time, but they violated so many securities laws. I mean, basically, what they're doing is they're saying, if you're an NIA member and you give us $1,000, we will help you rip off the other NIA members who didn't give us $1,000. This is an internally generated pump and dump scheme where the people who pay $1,000 get the privilege of dumping their shares to the people who don't pay $1,000. So what they violated, this is front running, this is stock manipulation, this is insider trading. Not only is NIA guilty of these things, but they've actually implicated their own members. The people who paid that $1,000 to receive inside information, they're also guilty. They could be charged with a crime.
Well, I knew something was wrong when they raised $250,000 in one day, and they continued to do that. So I decided at that point that this is not something to be involved in. Well, it was third hand through another YouTuber named Vision Victory that Gerard Adams said that he would sue me for everything I have and get a judgment against me.
Oh, so he told him to tell you that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he basically passed on the threat through another source, and you believed it, so you stayed quiet?
Of course.
I mean,
100% sure.
Well, do you think they would recommend a company for free with no financial interest whatsoever?
No, they're making money somehow.
Well, the only way
I've done documentaries with these guys, and they make ungodly amounts of money. I didn't see any of it.
Well, they don't charge for their documentaries, right? They don't charge people to watch
it. They put them out for free.
Do they have
documentaries? The documentaries cost a lot to produce. They cost $10,000 to $20,000 per piece just to produce, and they promote them through YouTube using the YouTube promotion feature. They spend at least $30,000 to $40,000 just in promoting and advertising the video.
Now, do they accept advertising revenue on their site?
No, they don't.
How the business works? I mean, that's their primary business, right? Stock promotion.
Yes, that's their primary business is stock promotion. They get paid by companies, and they sometimes get shares of the stock. And then now they're charging those premiums to their members, the websites.
Well, in the email blast that I got, they didn't disclose anything about being paid to promote mega precious metals. Now, if they are paid stock promoters, if people pay them to promote stocks, why would they promote mega precious metals for free?
I can't answer that one, Peter. Yeah. I don't know.
But do you think I'm doing the right thing by publicly criticizing what they're doing and warning people to stay away from these stocks?
Yeah. What they're doing is hurting people, especially if they're not familiar with investing in stocks. I mean, I've lost money that I can't afford to lose investing in stocks. John Levitt himself has told me, don't invest in the promoted stocks. He knows they're losers.
He told you that.
John told me, don't invest in the promoted stocks, George.
Right, because
I've lost money on them.
They show their track record, and they'll show like Newmont Mining or Silver Wheaton or Barrick Gold, and these are stocks that they don't promote. And they'll show these stocks, and they've all gone up, and then they'll use that to create a track record, and then they'll slip in these promoted pump and dump penny stocks, but they won't tell anybody that there's a difference, and they'll hope they'll buy these. Is that how they operate, as far as you can see?
Correct. Some of the stock valuations and picks are actually good, and that's what makes it so horrible. Is that that you can't trust 100% of it. People that are intelligent enough to discern through that information, that's fine. This kid, John Levitt, was making $50,000 a day when he was 15. Buying stocks in the morning, promoting them, and selling them at lunchtime in the library. I don't know what kind of damage he's doing at 24, 25.
Blue Star. Put all your clients in it.
Okay, buddy. We are back in business on Blue Star.
Blue Star, Mr. Manheim. Marty, I need a favor. It's a quick scout for you. 200,000 shares Blue Star at 19.5. Can you position it in one of your equity funds?
Chronicles on 7.
Hold, Marty. Listen, Blue Horseshoe loves Blue Star Airlines. Got it?
Got it.
Right. Marty, you still there?
Yeah.
Blue Star's in play. Let's check it out.
I do love it so.
Yeah, Gordon, I see it at 21 and 5/8. I don't know what to make of it.
Stock's going to Pluto, man.
Start unloading.
What? Sell?
Dump it now. Dump it all. Where's Lou?
Right over there. Ken. Yeah, Ken. Marvin, Jackson Steinem. We got to dump this, baby. You got to take the money and run on BST, okay? We're getting out now.
Alright, so it's time for me to explain that phone conversation that I edited down and sped up, and why that edited down movie clip from Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps in 1987 was added. Alright, so he's talking to a former member of the so-called NIA, the National Inflation Association, this nice official sounding name that is ultimately, as he's describing, a stock manipulation organization that potentially has incoming funds from the actual stockbrokers, maybe potentially the companies themselves and other entities, as well as income coming from the members themselves to receive the insider information largely without really knowing that it's illegal. The insider information before they publicly release their stock picks, so that they are ahead of the game and essentially in at a stock at, let's say, for example, $5 instead of $8 when the news comes out and they come home from work. But also, lastly, potentially John Lebed and these other guys that are supposedly at the top of this NIA are also participating directly in this stock racket that has been created. So that's a lot of some big, hefty accusations, and we're gonna go through that and explain why that is the case. Of course, Peter Schiff, for as far as I can tell, he's fairly reputable. He has a lot of fans. He's built, apparently, it appears, a reputation based on at least honesty, if he's not always correct. He has had some good predictions in the past before with, for example, the 2008 bubble. He said that he was on the side that predicted that, which, I mean, in all honesty, that was not a difficult thing to predict, but it definitely gave him some popularity for sure. So Peter Schiff himself seems to be the guy that was interviewing in the phone call. He appears to be a fairly reputable source, as far as I can see. On the National Inflation Association, if you go through their website, it appears to be just purely objective. Your first glance is, what the hell is all this fear-mongering? There's a lot of fear-mongering and buy this, buy that, prepare for, hyperinflation. The slogan themselves, I mean, of the site is preparing Americans for hyperinflation. And so why I think this is important is because it's already, you're coming in with a presumption. You can't, there is no skepticism in making the claim that hyperinflation is inevitable, essentially. It's a reality of economies in the very extreme fringes and cases, but it's like those people that are like obsessed with the zombie apocalypse and know it's going to happen. It's essentially a doomsday prepper site. That's the way to look at it, because there's no real economic predictions. It's just all trying to confirm the presumption that hyperinflation is happening, and it's going to come in the near future, or at least in your lifetime, essentially. So that for one raises a lot of alarms if you're just trying to be completely objective. But even taking that and combining the name and taking into consideration that it honestly sounds like some sort of government-run entity that, like the FDA, NIA, FBI, CIA, throw them all together and they all sound like government bodies, essentially. You have to take into consideration also that they have this confirmation bias of their website. They're trying to sound like an official sounding legitimate player, and then they're also making all these stock predictions of precious metals. Why are they only making these predictions? It's silly, and consistently. This idea that gold is going to go up month after month or some bullshit like that is highly stupid. Because commodities like these go up and down. To be very vague and simplistic, as a non-person who has no experience or essentially formal education in economies and how stock markets work and markets in general work. When you have, to just be very in plain English, when you have uncertainty in economies, for example, the U.S. economy, you will have players put their money in very liquid assets. So things like cash. They're going to leave their money, their wealth essentially in U.S. dollars sitting in the bank, or they're going to put it in things like, for example, precious metals. And that's why you had, for example, during 2008, a gold fever, essentially, right after the economy totally took a turn for the worse once the bubble popped, right? You had a clear gold fever there because of the uncertainty in the economy, because everything was collapsing around it. Now, this isn't 2008 anymore. This is 2016, and right now what we have is essentially a very strong U.S. economy built on the back of fracking. It's a sector that's so strong that even with Obama's best efforts to incentivize that ball to stop rolling because big oil is evil and environmentalism and all that other nonsense that you constantly hear from liberals, but to think that there's going to be a decline in the U.S. economy enough so much that people are going to move, they're not going to feel that their financial assets are safe enough in U.S. dollars because the U.S. economy will contract enough that you'll actually lose money in those that liquid asset, and you'll move it more to a harder asset such as precious metals, where that's essentially, if you believe that the economy is going to regress enough that your dollars are going to go down, essentially. Your U.S. dollar, your $20 bill is going to be worth 15. You're going to have the buying power of 15 in a year from now, or essentially, extreme example, but I'm just saying. And so basically, yeah, precious metals and gold is like your last line of defense before total anarchy of Armageddon, where the only currency really that there's available is guns, bullets, booze, and pussy, essentially. To say that this whole sector is going to have some sort of magic increase because fracking is on the up is kind of idiotic. It's not a bubble. It's definitely that growth in the economy is built on something very tangible and very valuable in this 21st century. So it's very silly. You could say that there could be speculation and uncertainty in the economy with the U.S. election. There always is with elections, and little things like that. Things like Syria destabilizing certain areas, tensions between Russians, because Hillary will not shut the fuck up about her Russia. That's one of those things where it's like, you can definitely build some uncertainty between there, but enough to say that any reasonable financial expert should be recommending gold. I don't really see that. There's going to need to be some sort of other evidence that presented in order for me to even kind of get anywhere close to accepting that as reasonable. As far as I know, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not a financial expert. Here's my credentials, chopped onion, the anonymous YouTube alias who also has Twitter, super official. So honestly, I'm just a humble guy, just giving my opinion on really just trying to bring it back to skepticism rather than wild, crazy claims like this NIA is making. That's one of the issues. It's a really official sounding name to kind of sound like, for example, like an FDA or CIA or an FIB or FIB. Did I just say the GTA? Oh my God, nice slip. That's pretty funny. But National Inflation Association. It definitely sounds like some sort of official entity that's pushing a bunch of bullshit, fear mongering, and is privately owned. For one, it's a completely private entity as far as we can tell, and obviously accused of very harsh allegations with this whistleblower that Peter Schiff interviewed. So when they're talking about stock manipulation and the pump and dump method, what they're meaning is essentially the pump and dump method is a form of stock manipulation where you essentially get all your buddies to go in on a stock. You just get enough essentially value pushing a stock, essentially getting the ball rolling. And then once the ball's rolling, everyone kind of jumps in on the ball and starts rolling it and pushing it further until eventually it gets to a point where you kind of just you pull out your stocks because you came in at 5 and now it's at 10 or 20, and you pull out all your stocks, and because you made money, your buddies made money potentially if you had them in on with you, and then suddenly everybody else rolling the ball that was already there was rolling that ball, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, whoa, this is slowing up. We gotta pull out, and so everybody starts running and frantically trying to essentially not be the guy that's came in at 10 and is now pulling out at 5 or 3 or 2, because and that's essentially how pump and dump methods work in reality. Is overall that the whole cycle is essentially what you're doing is you're communicating to all your buddies that we're going to essentially start a pyramid scheme where we're at the top, where we prop up this stock and only we know about it, and so once it hits a certain price, we're all going to pull out, and that's what he's explaining. It's exactly the same method that was presented in that movie clip. So hopefully that helps to explain that a little bit easier to people who may not have heard anything about this or are completely new to financial assets, financial education, and financial knowledge, essentially economic knowledge. And so obviously that wasn't the exact same method. They didn't. How they do it is obviously their whole way to pump up the stock in the NIA case, rather than the Blue Star scalping case in that movie, was not by getting all their friends and getting everyone on the telephone racing frantically to pump up the stock. What they were essentially their method of doing that was through their website, the NIA, and pushing these documentaries and pushing their stock picks on their website and promoting them on YouTube. I guess that's the best way to do it, and getting people to essentially sign up for that that membership or newsletter, and pushing the word out and email blasts that this stock is going to be awesome, and meanwhile somebody somewhere already has money in that stock and is just waiting for you to bite and start pushing the ball for them, essentially, not for you. And that's the whole idea at play there. So I guess that's a lot to really unpack, a lot to really decipher, and to kind of probably potentially to some of you, your brain might be kind of buzzing, and you might be rewatching this or re-listening to this a few times over. So I kind of want to stop it there, because that's the first real organization we just totally took I guess a full takedown, a full broad view of. We spent like 10 minutes destroying these people. So that's one source that I think is the very first source to wreck like that is probably fairly important, because there's some very obvious allegations and damaging allegations to their legitimacy of as a actual any type of authority on financial assets, because of their personal agenda potentially. And what's even more damning about this is this $1,000 for insider information. Many people might not even be aware that that's actually they're joining in on insider trading and stock manipulation, and that's incriminating for them. All those people who sign up for that insider information, paying NIA $1,000 to receive insider information. That's pretty crooked and very shady to the average Joe who might get pulled in on this, who really has no idea what they're getting into, and essentially gets schmooked into this shit. And so that's an incredibly dangerous aspect of all this as well, is, you know, they're essentially bringing everybody on the Titanic to drown with them. It's insane what they're essentially doing, this NIA, and how it's unique from other pump and dump methods. So in closing, this NIA clearly does not look like a reputable source. There's definitely going to need to be some more, I don't know, potentially this whistleblower proven wrong or something like that, you know, before I'm trusting my money with some weird fear-mongering website. It appears that they're essentially selling the shovels in the gold rush, and it's unknown whether they're actually participating in the gold rush themselves as well. So that's something to consider. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to sum it up. I hope to see you in part 2, where we're obviously going to start directly into more arguments, and I'm not going to take this long to crush some sort of source, because that appears to be the only source that the guy references. So I thought that would be important to definitely spend some time on, and definitely, especially since there was a lot of information out there on how fraudy they are, essentially, how they are essentially just a stock manipulation front, if you want to call it that, because there's not really an organization, they're really just an image. So I hope that was informative. That's a lot to take in. I hope you all enjoyed that. Maybe you might need to rewatch it. I do apologize if I was not clear enough in my explanation of how this is essentially fraudy. And I definitely hope to see you in a part 2. There might be a part 3 just because of how long this video actually is, and how much crap you gotta, you know, essentially you spray a shit hose for 5 minutes, you gotta spend 20 cleaning it up. Problem is, we're dealing with a shit hose that's been sprayed for 30 minutes, so this is gonna take a while to clean up, hopefully. Unfortunately, hopefully not. Hopefully we get through it all. Unfortunately, it's been sprayed for 30 minutes. Jesus Christ, that's another slip. That's a wonderful slip. Anyways, thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay skeptical out there. Get proper financial advice. Be wary of where you put your money. Any investment opportunity is prone to risk. You never know what awful thing could potentially happen to where you put your money. And if there's any moral message to this video, please be responsible and be skeptical of any and all claims.